Hello students, welcome to the class. Now this video is part 2 of the video on The Merchant of Venice Act 4, Unit 4, Text of Semester 2 syllabus. Now in the previous video we had looked into the life, the works and the influence of Shakespeare on the English language. We also looked into the main characters of the play, The Merchant of Venice, and also the different and the plot of The Merchant of Venice. Now, in this particular video, we are going to look into what actually happens in Act 4 and also the character sketches of the important characters in the play. And we also look into the themes that come recurringly in the play. So the Act 4, Scene 1, the stage is set for the courtroom in Venice. Now Shylock is demanding a pound of flesh from Antonio as per the bond which he had signed. Shylock ignores the many pleas to spare Antonio's life, and he calls for a trial to decide the matter. The Duke of Venice, who presides over the trial, announces that he is unable to solve this puzzle or riddle, and he has sent for a legal expert from Padua. And the young lawyer, actually, who turns out to be Portia disguised as a young man, Balthazar. Now, Portia, in the disguise of a young lawyer, asks Shylock to show mercy. But Shylock remains inflexible and insists that the pound of flesh is rightfully his. Bassanio offers Shylock twice the money due to him. He says 6,000 ducats, but Shylock insists on collecting the bond as it is written. Now Portia examines the contract, the bond, and she finds it legally binding and even declares in the court that Shylock is entitled to the merchant's flesh. Now Shylock ecstatically praises her wisdom. But as he is on the verge of collecting his due, sharpening his knife, Portia reminds him that he must do so without causing Antonio to bleed, because the contract does entitle him to a pound of flesh from any part of his body, and which Shylock wants to take it from his heart. But it does not entitle him even to a single drop of blood. Now Shylock is shocked by this logic. And Portia even reminds Shylock that he is guilty of conspiring against the life of a Venetian citizen. Now Shylock understands that he is trapped, and he hastily agrees to take Bassanio's money, but instead Portia insists that he must take as the bond is written and nothing at all, because he has been insisting to take nothing but what is written in the bond. The Duke spares Shylock's life and takes a fine from Shylock's property. Actually, Shylock is guilty of conspiring against the life of a Venetian citizen, which means he must turn half of his property to the state and the other half to Antonio. Antonio also forgoes his half of Shylock's wealth, but he makes a condition that that Shylock must give the entirety of his property to Lorenzo and Jessica, the daughter and son-in-law of Shylock, upon his death. Shylock agrees and takes his leave. Now Bassanio, who does not see through Portia's disguise, showers the young lawyer with many thanks, but eventually is pressurized into giving Portia the ring which he had promised Portia never to part with. Then later on, Portia reveals that she in fact was the law clerk and she and Nerissa reconcile with their husbands. Lorenzo and Jessica, the daughter and son-in-law of Shylock, are also pleased to learn of their inheritance from Shylock. And the joyful news arrives that Antonio's ships have in fact made it back safely. Hence, the group celebrates its good fortune, and thus the scene 1 and scene 2 end. One of the important themes in this play is which is more important, self interest or love? Now we find that Shylock is greedy. He's actually more interested in getting revenge on Antonio. Similarly, we also find that Bassanio is also self motivated. He wants money and he's in need of money. He wants to take the hand of Portia. And so he seeks help of Antonio. We do find that some of the characters in the play do value love more than self interest, like Antonio, who just gives money to his dear friend Bassanio, even though he knows that Shylock wants to seek revenge on him. Another theme which is in this now another important theme in this play is the divine quality of mercy. Now, the conflict between Shylock and the other characters in the play is basically over the issue of mercy. They all know that law is on the side of Shylock, and he can request to ask for his due, that is the pound of flesh, but they also seek him to show some mercy on this part. It is in the long speech of Portia as the lawyer, and where she says that the quality of mercy is not strained. So she says that human beings should be merciful because God is merciful, and mercy is an attribute of God Himself, and therefore greater than power or majesty or law. Now, Portia's understanding of mercy, of course, is based, and it doesn't make any sense to Shylock, and he doesn't think that mercy should be given to Antonio. Though Shylock doesn't show an interest in showing mercy to Antonio, but when actually Shylock is cornered and he has to lose all of his property, the Duke and Antonio seem to show mercy and thus show themselves to be better human beings than Shylock. Now, another thing that we find theme in this play is that hatred can be cyclical, because Shylock hates Antonio, and that is because the Christians in the city of Venice have been hating the Jews, and Shylock has been facing this hatred from them, and now he wants to take revenge by showing hatred. Unfortunately, what happens is his own daughter is now against him, and the whole story goes around like hatred is a cyclical phenomenon, and showing hatred towards a particular sect of people or a particular group of people, or because of some vices and prejudices, can be very very wrong, and it can also cause us harm in return. One another theme that I find interesting in this play is the hatred towards people based on discrimination of people based on, say, race and religion. Now, this is what we are also finding in the world that we live, that people are discriminated based on to which group they belong. And Shakespeare did find this in ancient Venice, and when he wrote this play, he subtly introduces this theme, that hatred on the basis of a person's class or a race can be very demeaning. Now, let us look at the main characters in the play. Now we find Antonio. Even the play is named after him. The play is called as Merchant of Venice. But he seems to be a rather depressive, self-pitying person. He's always melancholic in nature, though he has very deep love and affection for his friend Bassanio, and he doesn't even care if he is asking money from an enemy, and he just gives signs the bond, even though that person is asking for a pound of his flesh. But there is one negative character in Antonio, that is his anti Semitism. He has a particular hatred for a particular class of people, like the Jews. Now, this shows that there are flaws in Antonio. Another important character and very famous person is Shylock. Though he is the play's villain, Shakespeare has taken a lot of pain to actually paint him. And though he's a person led by greed and he wants money, and he treats money and his daughter on the same level, and he's also very cruel when it comes to taking revenge on Antonio. He seeks revenge for the wrongs done to him. He has been abused and he has been treated wrongly or negatively many times by Antonio, so he wants to seek revenge. We can say that Shylock is perhaps a product of his circumstances. In that ancient period in Venice, the Jews were not being treated well by the Christians, and that probably has put a lot of hatred in his mind. Perhaps the most interesting and most elegant character in the play is Portia, Bassanio's wife. She is not only wealthy but very intelligent and also beautiful, and she's one of Shakespeare's most famous heroines. Even in the play, the most important lines come from the lips of Portia. She seems to be very highly resourceful, and she also takes initiative in actually rescuing Antonio, where she disguises herself as a man and she comes to the court as a young lawyer, and also she seems to be very acquainted with the law of Venice. She adheres to the rules set by her father and also the law of Venice, but then she also uses them effectively to make them work for her. So that shows her to be very resourceful woman. Now there are many important quotes in this scene one of Act 4. There is a situation where Bassanio tells that, "Do all men kill the things they do not love?" Then Shylock answers, "Hates any man the thing he would not kill?" And this particular paragraph, which Portia utters in the scene 1, is very important, where she says that the quality of mercy is not strained, it drops as the gentle rain from heaven. Upon the place beneath it is twice blessed, it blesses him that gives and him that receives. So she talks about the great quality of mercy, which is greater even than law or majesty. Right. Right, so we come to the conclusion of this video, and for any queries or questions that you come across and you want to ask about Shakespeare or the play, you can contact us, send mail to the department ID, or you can also post a query on the blog spot. Thank you for watching the video.